Well, this is being interpreted as a very intentional signal. The Ukraine Defense Contact Group was set up in 2022, immediately after Russia's invasion. Is set up by the United States to coordinate military aid to Ukraine by NATO members and non-NATO members. It's a group that's larger than just NATO. But since President Trump took office in January, of course, the U.S. has stopped its support, its military support for Ukraine, and the U.S. has backed away from this group. It's turned over leadership of the group to Germany and the U.K. Now, already at the last meeting in April, it was expected that Pete Hegseth would not attend. At the very last minute, he did join them virtually by video. However, I'm told that lasted about 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. This time, the U.S. government has said in advance he will not be joining in any capacity. So that will be the first time that a U.S. Defense Secretary hasn't attended a meeting of this group. Now, the State Department is saying that's because of scheduling conflicts. It's not really believable that he wouldn't be able to join, at least by video, for 5 minutes like he did last time. He will, however, be attending the regular NATO Summit of Defense Ministers tomorrow. Now, as you heard in that sound clip there, Secretary General of NATO Mark Rutte was keen to downplay the significance of this. He's really become America's defender-in-chief here in Brussels. And again, there in that press conference, when a journalist asked him whether or not the U.S. is backing away from its commitment to NATO, he said basically the question is, quote, not fair. It's unfair for people to keep asking whether the U.S. is committed to NATO because Donald Trump, he said if you watch his statements, he's extremely committed to NATO, and this question should be put toward other NATO members like the Netherlands, he said. I have to say, I think patience with Mark Rutte is growing thin in this town because he is seen now as being a mouthpiece, essentially, for the U.S. administration, and particularly in kind of denial of reality when the U.S. is very clearly distancing itself intentionally from support for Ukraine, and specifically in this case, the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. Mark Rutte is insisting the exact opposite.
Okay, interesting that the view there is that Mark Rutte is in denial because, of course, this meeting comes a day after Ukraine attempted to attack the Kerch Bridge that links Crimea with mainland Russia. Then we also had this past weekend's a very daring aerial attack on Russian air bases deep inside Russia. So how does this affect the mood amongst the group that have gathered in support for Ukraine?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm hearing in Brussels that people are very excited about that attack, but there's also an acknowledgement that it's not going to make a huge amount of difference on the ground in terms of the land war. This was an attack on aerial forces, and so while it's symbolically a great boost to morale, they're not sure. I haven't heard anyone very convinced that it's going to make a big difference on the ground. Nevertheless, as those defense ministers are in that Ukraine Defense Contact Group format today, and they're trying to think about what further aid they can deliver to Ukraine, this is certainly making a difference in terms of showing that Ukraine is still able to pull off an attack like this. It's going to give more confidence to countries to turn over more support. Now, in that press conference, Mark Rutte said that we can expect some announcements of further military assistance from the end of today's meeting. Let's see what happens there. But certainly this is a boost of confidence that could translate into more assistance for Ukraine than we might have seen otherwise.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Dave, thank you very much for that. Dave Keating reporting there for us from Brussels. Now, in other news, U.S. officials